Good morning, class. This story is going to introduce you to Wacky the Walrus, and he does look pretty wacky. I also noticed that he has our special letter of the day on his tummy. That is the letter W, and you can make a letter W with your fingers by putting your two thumbs together and by spreading out your pointer finger. So we're going to find out all about Wacky the Walrus. He's our main character today. That means that's who the story's about. So once upon a time, deep in the white wilderness of Wyoming, there lived a woolly walrus named Wacky, who had a wig. Here's his wig. That means he has fake hair, and he has whiskers. He also has a little nose that looks like a W, which is so cute. Her name was Wacky because she did wacky, silly things like waltzing, which is a funny dance, and wiggling. Have you ever heard of a walrus doing that? I sure haven't. That's kind of wacky. Wacky lived in a special house called a wigwam. So this is a wigwam. You might have heard it called a teepee also. So this is Wacky's wigwam. The wigwam kept her warm in the winter. She had a little friend named Wiggly the Worm. I hear lots of words that start with W, like W. So this is Wiggly the Worm. Wacky would pull Wiggly in his little worm wagon, and together they would whistle and whisper and wink. Do you do that with your friends? Do you whisper to them and wink and whistle? Sometimes I do that with my friends. One day, Wiggly the Worm decided to play a trick on Wacky. Wiggly wandered away and he hid in some weeds. Do you see little Wacky the Worm or Wiggly the Worm right there? Wacky looked and looked and looked for Wiggly. She called, "Wiggly, where are you?" When Wacky could not find that worm, she sat down and she wept. That means she cried. And she went, "Wah, wah, 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 wah." She just cried because she was so upset. Finally, Wiggly made little sounds. Wah, 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 wah. Just like the W. Let's try it again. Wah, 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 wah. That's the sound the W makes. And Wacky found him in the weeds. Okay? So we found him in the weeds. Oh my goodness sakes. I think I would be happy to find my friend, but I'd be a little bit mad that he played a trick on me. Right? Well, Wiggly really enjoyed this trick. He thought it was really tricky and funny. So much that the next day he hid again. This time he hid in a pile of wood. Do you see Wacky the Worm right there, or Wiggly the Worm right there? Wacky looked and called, "Wiggly, where are you?" Wacky even looked in the weeds where Wiggly was before, but there was no worm there. And what did poor Wacky do because he was so sad? Everybody rub your eyes and cry just like Wacky did. Wah, 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 wah. She wept. Well, pretty soon Wiggly made his little sound from the woods again. Can you help me with the W sound? Wah, 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 wah. And Wacky found him. Now this sounds like it's starting to be a problem because Wacky doesn't think it's very funny, does she? She thinks this makes her cry. By now, Wiggly was really enjoying all the trouble that he was causing. The next day he wiggled away and he went into the waves in the water. Do you see him? Here he is. And Wacky looked and looked. She looked in the weeds and she looked in the woods and she couldn't find him. And oh, she wept again. She cried again. What sound did she make? Wah, 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 wah. Well, Wiggly made a sound from the water. Can you help me with the W sound? Wah, 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 wah. and Wacky discovered where he was. Well, Wacky was very weary of Wiggly's tricks and tried to watch him so that he would not disappear again. But being weary, she fell asleep because weary means she was tired. This time Wiggly wiggled off to an old washing machine. When Wacky could not find him, she wept so loudly again. Wah, 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 wah. Later she heard him in the washing machine. And what sound did he make in the washing machine? Just like the W says. Wah, 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 wah. Wacky. So she got him out of the washing machine and she was very upset. She said, why do you wander away? Well, all along, Wiggly had a problem. Wiggly told Wacky that he wanted a wigwam just like hers, and that's why he kept hiding. He said that if he had a wigwam just like Wacky's, then he would never hide again. So, Wacky decided to fix the problem in this story. She worked together with Wiggly, and they made a white, woolly wigwam for Wacky the Worm. Now they are always together, side by side. Wiggly never wanders away, and Wiggly and Wacky, they waltz and walk and waddle and whirl and whistle together all week long. I'm really glad that they fixed their problem.